Says we're checking connections. So let's see if we're officially live. It says we're streaming. It says we're live. So welcome to this Thursday's Cosmic Conversation. I am Cece Harder with my mom, Dr. Heather Harder. This is a place where we together. We've been doing this every Thursday, same time, same place. If you'd like to join us on Zoom, you can. Last week, she did say that she's going to be doing sprinkles this week. If you do want to get a sprinkle, you do have to be on the Zoom. So feel free to join in if that feels like something that's of interest. If you want a sprinkle, I just to remind you, woo, baby, hello. It has been a wild time, and so I always enjoy this connection with the tribe and kind of getting the rejuice, reboot for this wonderful world that we live in. So with that being said, I usually take over and do some technology stuff and making sure we're live and streaming and all that kind of stuff while mom takes over the next step. So remember, you are never alone. Also, I am got my first class up, this new class. If you are called to work with me, I'm doing a 5-week coaching program, and there's an early bird sign up for $155 for the 5-week class, and that will include moving through this ascension process together, understanding the principles and where we're going, and kind of doing my best to give you the tools, the tips, the techniques, and all the stuff that get us through it, because it is definitely a journey we're all facing together as we get to create this new world. All right, that being said, Heather, would you like to take over?
And as always, I welcome you as well. And the first thing we do is remember that we have to ask for what we want. We don't ask, we don't get. That's the nature of this planet, that there may be 1,000 angels in heaven waiting to do your bidding, but they can't do anything unless you ask. So the first thing we do is we start off by asking for protection. That means all the interference, all the distractions, all the whatever it is that may go on in our life that we don't need. So we want to ask for protection, ask for guidance so that we're always doing what's best for our track, for our path, that someone else's path makes no difference in my life, but I've got to stay ever vigilant to my path and do what feels right to me. Regardless of what other people say or do, I have to do what's right for me, and that I want to know what that right is and get my guidance to help support that right. And the third thing we ask for is to recognize truth, that we're getting bombarded with all kinds of information, and some of it is so wild. And it's important that we always have our sense of discernment up, so we can discern truth from non-truth, from fact from fiction, from what serves us and what doesn't serve us. And so those three things are really important that you ask each day, because each day is a new beginning. We ask for protection, guidance, and truth. And so that's the first part of our time together, is just remember and being reminded that that's our responsibility. Unless we ask for it, we don't get it. So ask and believe, and ye shall receive. With that, we go into the second part, which is actually playing with the light. As light workers or light players, you're here to use the light to illuminate the darkness, not to run away, not to create battle with the darkness or those what we call the black hats or those lesser lights, but just to illuminate them, just to shed light on everything, not so that you can persuade other people, but you can allow them to see more clearly with the light. And so when we play with the light, there's no outcome we're going for. There's no manipulation. There's no strings. It's just playing in the light. And then whatever is the consequence of that light is open to the universe. It isn't our intention. I don't send light to you to heal you. That's your business. I send light to help you do whatever that you want to do. The light just makes it easier to do. I send light to those in distress, not to end their distress, but to give them a choice to recognize what they can do to end their own distress, if that be their choice. Again, everybody's walking a different path, and there's no path that's wrong. There's no path that's right. It's just an individual path based on the experiences that we choose to experience. And so, with that, as we play in the light, we allow ourselves to become more immersed in that light and to feel that light and to experience that light both internally and externally in our own life. And so, just right now, just do a little wellness check on you. How do you feel? If you had a stress level from 1 to 5, what would it be? Feel your breathing on a 1 to 5. What would it be? If you looked at your muscles and your muscle tension and whatnot, 1 to 5, what would it be? With 1 being the least, 5 being the most. How are you right this moment? And that self wellness check is extremely important because it's up to you to monitor your own well being. If you have these flashpoints, recognize those and feel those extremes and understand that's also your opportunity to balance them out. If you feel stressed, it's your opportunity to balance them out. And we can give techniques and we can give tools to do that. But I can give you the prettiest hammer in the whole world, but if you don't pick it up and hammer something, it's not going to do you any good. So whether or not you use the tools and techniques that are shared is your choice. So with that, I want you to take a few deep breaths just so you can feel yourself. Just feel how you feel. And if you're muted, just say a sentence or two to yourself. Feel how those words feel. Feel how that vibration feels to you. If you're not muted, then don't say it. But if you're muted, go ahead and do that. And then what I would like you to do is just imagine stepping into your center. The center is an imaginary place. A place of stillness, a place of quiet, a place of safety. Where's your place of center, your happy place? I want you to imagine there's a huge pillar of light coming down into the center of your happy place. That pillar of light is the light energy from the heavens into the earth. You are the ambassador, the go-between, the heavens and the earth, and you're here to help anchor heavenly energy to the earth. It's your job. So many people say, oh, what's my mission? What's my mission? Well, your mission is to anchor the light, to generate the light, to be the light. And that can happen just as effectively in your imagination. And first, in fact, it has to start in your imagination and then it permeates your life. So just feel that light. And if you step into this pillar of light, feel how it feels. Imagine the shower of light coming to you and through you. Imagine it's undoing every knot and every muscle. It's melting away every thought that does not serve you, every behavior that does not serve you. Just imagine this light allows you to be free to be your very best self. And then take a deep breath, breathing in this light, and then breathe it down into the earth, filling every cell in, on, and around the planet with this light. See this light be turned up and brighter still, that every dark crevice on this planet is illuminated. Light, love, God all carry the same vibration. So when we're sending light, we're also sending love. We're amplifying the God presence in that space. So just imagine turning it up, making it even more powerful, and then sending it out into the atmosphere. Just see this light spread through the atmosphere and circle the planet. Love, light, God. Now, there's lots of stories about all kinds of things that are being sent into our atmosphere for various reasons, to dim the light, to reflect the light, to taint humanity. Just imagine this light and love just dissipates everything that isn't love and light. And I want you to imagine everyone on this planet, everything on this planet that may try to impede this sharing of our light, and love them even more. Circle them with love. Let them breathe love in. And then send love and light to every weather pattern on the planet, every meteorological condition on the planet. Just love them. Weather patterns are very important. They're how the earth finds her balance. And we want to just love them. So love the storms, love the humidity, love the sun, love the moon, love how it affects the planet. Imagine everywhere on this planet where there is conflict, where there is war, where there is hate, where there are differences, whether it's between two people, two countries, two ethnic groups. Just imagine everywhere where there's conflict, and just send love to both sides. Humanity is learning how to work through the conflicts, and it's not easy. So love those who are in conflict. On this planet, we have the collective energy of the totality. We have the individual and we have the collective. The collective consciousness is this vibratory glue that holds us all together. As we move into fifth dimension, that consciousness becomes stronger and more cohesive. We're beginning to recognize our oneness. And we want to just put that much more love into the collective consciousness. We've put in a lot of hate and violence and differences and separation and I'm right, you're wrong. But now it's our job just to put in the cohesive collection of love. We are all one. We see things from different angles, from different perspectives. We see things through different colored glasses. We see the differences. But in truth, we're all one. So just love that collective consciousness that ties us all together. And be grateful to the creative source that put us all together. Be grateful for the lessons you've learned. Be grateful for the experiences you've lived through. Be grateful. For the times you've chosen to experience. These indeed are the most exciting times on the planet. They're going to test you in ways that you yet can't imagine. So just love them. On this planet, we have a lot of influencers, leaders, politically, business, and organizations, and media of all sorts that want to control your thought process, control your behaviors, control your actions, control your habits. I'd like you just to love them. I want you just to love yourself and love the part of you that recognizes and allows yourself to be your authentic self in the midst of all these controlling, manipulating energies. It's easy just to lay down who you are and go along with whatever is happening. It takes courage. It takes strength. It takes vitality to stand against, to resist, and be your authentic, true self. Not a warrior who fights it, that empowers it. But just as Gandhi taught, to be that positive, passive non-compliance. These are the times for Gandhi's lessons. We've seen lessons of war throughout our history, whether they fought with sticks or knives or spears or cannons or the invisible biological weapons that are being used now. Under threat, do you become more resistant to what's going on? Or do you become more compliant? Those are questions you need to ask yourself, because these are the times that will test it. And there is no right, there is no wrong answer. But it's really important that you recognize that when you war, when you rage, when you fight against something, you are making that energy more intense on the planet. Gandhi maintained his friendships with many British leaders during the time he was leading his fellow citizens to not comply with their requests. And eventually he earned the sovereignty of his nation. The world is better for having known Gandhi. Some textbooks taught him as the devil incarnate, and some taught that he was a great leader. Everybody decides himself what he represented. Again, based on your perspective. And so too will you be looked at. Different ways by different people, but it's very important that you begin to really feel and identify your own place of authenticity. Or who are you? Why are you here? Are you here to add to the war energy, the fight mentality? Are you here to add to the love, compassion, non-compliance energy? You get to decide. On this planet, there are a lot of people who are in a state of perplexedness. They're walking the fence, not knowing what to do. So just imagine all the citizens in all the countries who are on a fence, who are in the middle of making decisions and don't know what to make, and then love them. Just fill them with love so they can make the decision that's right for them. This planet is in transition. Every citizen in every country on this planet are in transition. We are in the middle of burning to create the ashes that the fifth dimensional world will crawl out of. We decide how it all is going to unfold. The more love and light and non-judgment we can hold, the easier will be the transition. The more we go within and discover our own truth and our own ability to meld with current times, the easier it'll be for you and the planet. So right now, I'd like you to imagine a beautiful, beautiful throne, your place of power. I want you to choose to sit on the throne, your seat of authority. And as you do, I want you just to imagine your connection with the divine becoming clear and more distinct. You hear, you feel, you see, you know, whatever is best for you. Just feel that connection. And the seat of authority is always available to you. All you have to do is just intend and go to the sacred spot to reflect, to think, to listen. There will always be a voice coming from somewhere that's going to induce fear. It's going to tell you what to do and how to do it. It may be loud, it may be a soft whisper. It's certainly going to be confident. It knows what's best action to take. But always you have to know what's best for you. So we're just going to sit quietly in our place of authority for a few minutes and just listen and ask questions. What is best for you? How can you find the peace that you seek? How do you access your greatest wisdom? How do you attract others to you that will serve your greatest good? Just listen to the words that jump into your awareness. How do you recognize and release the words, the habits, the actions that no longer serve you? Recognize, allow, surrender, stabilize, balance. These are words that empower you, that help you reach your goal of being your very best self. And in this state, send love to everyone and everything that needs it. Give permission to the angels to use this love. And open your heart, open your awareness, open every cell of your body to receive this love. The universal law says that whatever you send out must come back. So just allow this energy to permeate every part of your body and neutralize everything that doesn't serve you. Toxins, heavy metals, whatever that you've taken in any form, we want to neutralize. Take a deep breath and share your gratitude for this cleansing, balancing, healing energy. And when you're ready, just come back to the here and now, knowing this source of energy is endless and always available to you. And you can send it to anyone or anything at any time. The more you use it, the stronger your connection with it becomes. When you're ready, just take a deep breath and come back to the here and now. Just take a few moments to integrate yourself back into the reality. And now do that self-check again. How are you feeling? How's your breathing? This is your perfected state. This is your goal 24/7, to be in this place of empowerment, this calm serenity where nothing or no one can shake you. So, anybody want to share anything or ask a question? Anything online, Stacy?
Yes. Juan Carlos would like to know, can you talk about self-forgiveness?
Well, that's a tough one, because if you don't judge yourself in the first place, there's nothing to forgive. If we look at life on earth, we came in to experience, and we experience the ups and downs. We experience our pretty side, we experience our ugly side. We experience the gentleness, we experience the toughness. And in that whole milieu, we are reacting based on our current condition. So if someone says something to me and I'm already in a hurt and fragile place, I may get angry, I may get upset, I may yell at them. Or if I'm in a pretty calm, collected place, I may just smile at them. So our reactions and interactions are based on our condition. The more wounded you are, the more hurt you are, the more fragile you are, the more likely you are to vent and act out, scream, holler, do whatever. And so if you recognize those kinds of conditions, of course you can go to the person that you may have injured and said, I'm sorry, didn't mean to do that. It may not wipe the situation away, but it's your right to make amends. But if you're judging yourself, then you're going to have a harder time forgiving yourself. Remember, we're spiritual beings. And so as that spiritual divine being, I know what perfection is like. I know what that divine essence, perfect reaction should be. I know what that divine perfect action would be in my highest self. But I may fall short of that because I'm physical and I'm human and I'm dealing with all my other stuff. So it really is important that you don't judge yourself. You're where you are, recognize, learn from it. If you're never wrong, that's another lesson that you need to look at. If you can't, if you're always blaming, the more self-aware you become, the more you can see if you're always blaming other people for what they did that caused you to act this way, then recognize that's another opportunity you have to grow. But there's no point in judging yourself, because that is counterproductive to your perfect self. Judge not, is for real. That's real. When you judge something, you empower it and you bring more of that into your life. You're tied to that karmic wheel with that experience until you can let it go. So it's really important that you give up the habit of judging. Ask him if that helps. I like little ceremonies, and so I use birthday candles a lot. And so if you really need to beat yourself up, light a little candle, beat yourself up while the candle's burning. And then when the candle is gone, like again, a birthday candle, not the 7-day forever candles, but a little birthday candle, when it burns down, then let it go and just no longer, when it pops into your mind, just love it, just release it. I worked with someone who was in a car accident and accidentally killed her best friend. And she said that she was constantly harangued with this woman's image. I said, when she comes to you, just love her. This is her lessons too. This is her experience. And so just love her. And so when she got in the habit of just loving this woman who came to remind her of something that she had done wrong, then she could change the energy of the experience. And eventually it wasn't the same traumatic reason to beat herself up. She could just love the situation for the lessons it provided and how it changed the trajectory of her life. And so depending on, what you were beating yourself up over, find a way of just recognizing and coming to terms with it. It is the way it is. You can't change of what is. You can only just begin to embrace it, harmonize with it, learn from it, and move forward. So anything else he wants to say? He's usually pretty verbal.
Hasn't yet. So just keep an eye on the comments. Hello, hello. I know we just got our friend signed on. We're just talking about self-forgiveness. If you have questions, feel free to write in the comment box because I'm looking at the comments, reading them. So if you have questions, feel free to join in.
And if you're on the Zoom and you have a question, you can either raise your hand or electronically raise your hand or write in the conversation box.
Yes. And I think right now there's so much we're being challenged on. And I think it comes also back into your truth. Are you speaking your truth? Are you listening to your truth? Are you feeling your truth? And where those boundaries are within that. And hello, Jake. What is that? Nanu. I don't remember his Nanu thing, but anyways, I see
That
her.
was Spock from Star Trek.
Yes.
Nanu was
Nanu is
Robin Williams. Robin Williams.
Yeah.
From his character.
And so then that's what got me started. So yeah, I think that it's an important time as we reestablish everything. I'm getting here late. It's 8:50. Crazy times. Miss you all weekly. What do you think about transcended meditation? And that comes from Gosha in Nova Scotia.
I don't know what she's talking about.
Transcended meditation? Do you not know transcendental meditation?
Transcendental meditation is different.
Okay. I'm pretty sure the spelling could be because it's autocorrect. I know it likes to change things. So I'm pretty sure that's what she's talking about. And Juan Carlos said, yes, thank you. So feeling unheard, unseen. It's really being untrue to yourself.
Well, if you're feeling unseen and unheard, it probably stems from you not really respecting yourself. Remember, everyone's a reflection of self. So if you're feeling like you're not being heard, if you're feeling like you're not being seen, then sit down and really acknowledge yourself, because we're denying our own feelings, we're denying our own beingness. And so that's going to be what we see in other people. It may not be what's actually there, but it's what we're going to notice because that's what we're doing to self. And Christine has a question. Go ahead, Christine. You've got to unmute yourself. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
So my question is, I'm basically going through an experience in my life right now where I feel like I'm not being true to myself, my purpose, and my calling. And the reason why is because I am clearing out some financial debt. So I'm working in places that don't really serve me, but for the purpose of clearing out this debt. Now, along with that, I'm trying to create these other experiences that are more in alignment, but I'm feeling like I'm having a hard time.
Okay. First of all, we're getting too many pieces. Let me deal with the first two, and then you can add your other pieces, because it's sort of like a 47 different layer cake. The flavors get all mixed up. So you feel like you're not doing your mission because you're doing jobs to pay bills. The two are not mutually exclusive. Remember, our purpose for being here is being loved. And so if you are working, for instance, I don't know what you're doing, but it doesn't matter. If you're serving people at a restaurant and you're taking orders and you're delivering food, you can be infusing those with tremendous amounts of love and light and actually doing your mission in a greater way than if you were doing a class to 10 people. You come in contact with more people. If you're working on the phones or working on the internet, you could be sending love and light out. Your mission isn't a single thing that you do here, like teaching. It's the way you live your life. So, when I've as I've done my last 30 years of spiritual work, I've maintained 2, 3, sometimes even 4 jobs at a time, that you wouldn't think was related to my spiritual practice, but nonetheless, it was a very important component of it. So don't think that what you're doing in life is separate from your spiritual job, which is to be love and light and help transition the planet. It may be an individual work. In fact, I was on an airplane. Southwest used to have the first 2 rows of seats face each other. So it was like little pods of conversation. And so I used to like those because you had more leg room. And so I was sitting in one of those one time and got in a conversation nonchalantly with different people there, and got a call afterwards. And the guy said how what an important life-changing conversation we had for him, that he went home and he broke up with a girl that he'd been living with because it was convenient and easy, but he didn't really love her and he knew it was going nowhere. He changed his job. His complete changed his life because of a conversation we had nonchalantly on the airplane. And so the word you speak to someone when you're doing something else may be the most significant thing you do in your world. So they're not mutually exclusive. You're meant to live this life, not live in a ashram in India and just do meditation and prayers all day. That's not living. That's an isolation and a spiritual practice, and a few people are called to that. But the rest of us have to work. And what I was told at one point in my spiritual work is that when I could be in my place of love while I was cleaning the toilets, I will thrive because I hate housework. And so, that it was about doing what life was doing, but being in that spiritual spot at the same time. So don't think that I'm going to get this out of the way and then I'm going to do my spiritual work. It's all one. It's all part of it. That you can be working a job for $15 an hour delivering pizzas and doing your spiritual work. And I see a lot of people thinking that, you've got to be doing your Reiki practice or doing your massage practice or doing this, or it's not spiritual work. Everything you do when you will have really mastered yourself will be your spiritual work, and probably the most significant spiritual work that you do. Now go ahead.
So I totally get that. But there is a part of it that feels so I get being the vibration and infusing all of the spaces that you're in. However, I feel that there is a conflict because I feel like a part of myself is betraying myself by doing so.
So do I hear a judgment in there that you're judging yourself not being complete or right because you're not, in the ashram doing your meditation? And people create these very ornate, beautiful meditation centers in their house, and they take these classes, or now with Zoom, you're on class, and think that's a spiritual work. That's actually not the spiritual work. It's when you're out and you're paying your bills and you're eating and you're going to work and you're delivering your pizzas or whatever you're doing to make a living. That's also, but at the same time, you're tuned to that inner self. So when the time comes to move, when the time comes to take a new step, you're aware of those gentle urgings as well. And as you say, right now is the time to become sovereign, be in debt to no one, to really be able to be independent and free, because we're moving into a period that if it's anything like what I've been shown, which I pray it's not, it's going to be really intense. So you're doing your spiritual work by clearing up your obligations. That is your spiritual work, so that you can do what you want to do in a way that's authentic to what you're feeling the guidance to do, but don't judge it. Don't judge the delivery. I mean, I don't know that you're delivering pizzas. I'm just using an example. Don't judge the delivering the pizzas or calling, working a phone bank or, whatever the job may be. That's also your spiritual journey because you're here to experience. And so if I listed all the things I've experienced in this lifetime, it would be a very long list. And if you've only just lived in an ashram, that's not living. That's not living. In fact, a lot of people here who have the messiest lives are people who have spent many lifetimes in religious orders, and they don't function well outside that structure, and the call to prayers at 5 and the call to prayers at this and the doing their work. They don't know how to serve outside that structure. But serving is our heart set. It's not it's an internal knowing, not necessarily a job classification, if that makes sense. You've been to Egypt with us, and so you know how that structures. It's not formal, just sitting in classes. It's learning all the time in everything we're doing, that something is reflecting in something all the time. And that's sort of the way life is. If you're out doing things, you're going to experience, you're going to see, you're going to grow in ways that you couldn't if you were just, teaching your classes. I teach my classes and I learn one thing, but when I'm out living and having to clean my toilets and, so I'm learning at another level, but they're all part of my spiritual junket.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And it's a great question. I think a lot of people share that idea. They see the spiritual work different than their life. And it's most harmonious when it's all together.
Also, it totally depends on the person and the situation, because I think that a lot of us are being led out of the corporate world or out of, even for my example, TV, film, it doesn't resonate with me when they're making you take a jab and they're making you test twice a day just to work on set once and wear 2 masks. That doesn't resonate with me. And so I think it also is, each person's journey is different.
Well, and I think that's true, that we're being led in different directions, that everybody's in a different place. But just because you're being led out of film and you're out of that job classification, you may be led into another classification, another kind of job. Laura was on the call earlier, and she's starting a new job. From having no job to having a job is a big transition, but her spiritual work should be considered and be continuing in all of it. It's not about beginning and ending. And because this job no longer fits, it doesn't mean the next job may not fit. And it may be, something that you would have never thought you were doing, like delivering pizzas, but just recognize that having a job is not demeaning in some way to your spiritual work. Any other questions with that, Christine?
Well, I was not finished, but thank you for cutting me off. I'm just going to go ahead and switch to a question that her 14-year-old daughter is struggling immensely with anxiety and OCD. Can you speak to the young people who are sensitive and how best to help them? Normally, I'm compassionate, but not today. And I want to say that I also agree that I was around the 15-year-old girl, same thing. They're being able to verbalize and express to me and my truth. I've actually had 2 students today. One's a college student that I've talked to. I think that so many of us are light beings, especially the younger ones, that they've really come in knowing this next phase. And then I think a lot of them feel it inside, but they're still new to feeling it in this body, in this lifetime, in this experience. So we kind of have to go through and remember. you're kind of new to me, so welcome, welcome. I am actually going to be leading a 5-week class that teaches us, hopefully, all the process, all the things, what to expect to come up, how to process, how to move through, and how to live a more happier, fulfilled life, and how do we make those adjustments. I do not know everything. I'm going through all of this with you, and trust me, I've been in tears earlier today. Like, I'm feeling it. There's a lot happening, and each of us, in my truth, has a different calling and a different thing, and we have to go inside and make our own decisions. Does this feel right? Is this an even exchange? Is this right? Is this wrong? And only you can feel that. But I think going and learning how to find this navigation system, I believe emotions are a part of our spiritual awakeness. They say pain is one of the most untapped powers inside of us. And when we can sit and move through that, the world transitions into a different place. And so I'm definitely understand a lot of kids have a lot going on. I think there's a lot of ways to help out. And there's a mom on here too that's talked about that. So it's new terminology, it's new ways to move through things, and energy is legit. Heather? And there was a full moon, yes, on Monday, and then this equinox, I think it's what it's called. So there's a lot of huge energies on the planet. No growth without suffering. Wow, it's that stretching, woo, then the contraction, and then it's process. It's process. Do you have any advice for teenagers?
Well, I don't think any different for teenagers and adults. And right now, every aspect of you is being challenged. And as I've said, and again, I don't know what you've heard, so I'm going to repeat it all again. But we have a mind. We are not our mind. We have a body. We are not our body. Your mind and body have their own consciousness. You are a soul spirit that has its own consciousness. And we are sort of moving from the mind being in the driver's seat to the soul spirit being in the driver's seat and coordinating the team. If you think about the team being body, mind, and spirit. Well, when your mind does not want to relinquish the power to your soul spirit, it tends to act up. Think of a temper tantrum that a child may do, and that anxiety and other things are examples of a mind acting up. We have depression, which is when you have intense anger, but it's turned inward. And so depression is anger turned inward. We can turn that out, and then we have rage and other kinds of things. But it's all a mind acting up. And so to tame the mind, I've again done a lot of classes on taming your mind, and without being able to repeat all of it here, I'd say the first and foremost is to get her into meditation classes. That's the easiest. And even, meditation classes can be as simple as taking a $10 Udemy class, or going on YouTube and finding some examples. But you need someone who can provide a little structure to it. But meditation is a first step at taming the mind. There's lots of other exercises that you can do because you have to feed the mind, balance the mind. You can have her listen to these classes if they're willing. At 15, they certainly can understand it, probably more so than you, because she's coming in with a lot more readiness than what you came in with. But her mind is saying, oh, hell no, I'm not playing this game. I want to do it my way. And so the mind is acting up, and you need to help her understand that she's not her mind, and she must take mastery over it, and that she can take mastery over it. But without knowing her and without knowing the situation, don't be afraid to do professional therapy. Just talking about it can also help balance the mind. I think for me, medication is the last, step that you would take if you've tried the other things. But chemical reduction can also be helpful if they're nothing else seems to be working, or you have not, if you don't have the avenue for the other resources. So your goal is to get the mind in order, because without it, you're living a horror movie, and you're both the victim and the monster. The mind just doesn't shut up. It just keeps going, and it can undermine every aspect of your life. So you need to get that mind quieted. And I say there's lots of ways to do that. And again, without a whole lot more information, that's the best I can do. But don't ignore it. That's the big thing. Don't ignore it. Take action.
And there's a lot of parts that too, because anxiety is living in the future versus in the present. So learning how to come back to the now moment, learning how to just tap in. I definitely agree with Jake about the mind, body, spirit. It's like a three-way, and it's about being in harmony. But also, in my opinion, as we move through this ascension process, our thoughts, our words are becoming that much quicker. We're manifesting, we're bringing in. And that's why living in your integrity and living in your truth is everything. And on top of that, if you got to watch your words, well, I feel this way, like I feel a pain in my stomach. It's very different than I'm anxious, I'm da da da. So I would also start with being a word coach. Do you want to feel that way in the future? Then stop owning it in this moment. It's so important. We got to come back to a very good, clear start. I am learning how to go through this emotion of this, or I am processing this, but it's important to say it's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to have those things, but remember your words are spells. That's why it's spelling, and every thought sends that frequency, every emotion sends a frequency, and together brings it back into your life. So it's very important to come back to the piece. What is it that you really want? Maybe making a list of a paragraph. I think you and her would probably do really well in this class if this feels called to you. It's 155 for 5 weeks. If you want to do one-on-one training, the early bird is $333, and you get 5 weeks of privates of a half hour with me along with the class. And so it's learning how to have that paragraph. So when you do get in a place that you can recognize, oh, I'm not in here, I want to get back in here. And then you give yourself words, you give yourself the mantras, right? I am peace. I move through my lessons with ease and grace. What you create this. So when you recognize you're up here, then it's like, oh, breath, right? Breath is one of the fastest ways. Gratitude, there's all kinds of different ways, but we're learning from that journey of our mind kind of ruling us. We're moving back into our heart, and through our heart is everything. It's the divine, it's our source. And so it's moving through the parts. And I do believe the body is a huge gift. I believe our body is not only the temple, but it is the vessel in how we move through this ascension. Each feeling in our body is linked to a lesson or linked to a gift. And if you learn how to start tapping into those and tuning into it, you can be guided very clearly, very fastly. And because energy doesn't lie, it's once we can start reading that, that's to me another way we access a lot of our magic. So it's really important. Words are powerful. Emotions are powerful.
And then also in her journal, I would have her take and start recognizing what are her triggers. What sets her into anxiety? What is she thinking? What is she doing when she moves into those states? And the more you can become the observer of what's going on, the more you can learn to control it. So there's lots of things that she can do. And you just start doing it.
Well, and it's tap in, tune in, turn on. It's like, poof, we're learning how to do this, and it's a process. And then we got a Jen C that says, I took a class with Stacy and it was incredible and I learned so much. I loved it. Thank you.
And then Jen C also said, can you tell the difference between Satan and Lucifer? I thought they were one of the same. They're all forces of evil. They're different backstories. I would put them in the same category, like, I don't know, I can't think of any examples, but cabbages and cauliflower are in the same family, but they're a little bit different. So some people have differences between the two. I don't. I just lump them in the same one. They're that which goes against the flow of life is evil. And I would put those two as they flow against the order of things and therefore fall in the evil category. Not as a not as a judgment, but just as a statement of fact. Welcome back, Laura. Welcome, Nelsie. Do you have other questions about that, Jency?
No, I don't. I've just been hearing people talk about them as if they're different entities.
Well, I think when whoever it was made that series on Lucifer, he became distinct unto itself. You know, he's now a character like a Superman or whatever.
Yeah,
They
I'm like-
differentiated him.
Satan is like what we call the devil, and Lucifer is the fallen angel. Like I don't understand. I've just been hearing people talk about it, and it hasn't clicked what they're trying to say. So I was just wondering if you knew.
It's also interesting too because no two people talk about Jesus the same way, or Mary Magdalene, or even with Mary Magdalene, well, her name wasn't Mary. You know what I mean? There's so many stories that sometimes, does it matter? Check in. Does this energy resonate? Do you want to put it? You know what I mean? Like sometimes I think it's impossible for us to know everything personally, and I think it'd be very overwhelming to know everything. And so I think feel into it.
Well, and I was also share with you that, as you've seen me do many times in these calls, when people talk about someone, they bring their energy in, and I can tell you about that person through their energy that they have been brought in by someone who's talking about them or thinking about them. When you're thinking about Lucifer or Satan or the devil or forces of evil, you're literally bringing that energy into yourself. So I would recommend don't give it two thoughts. Just it is, and let it go. And then think about the things that you really want to consume in your energetic field.
And so who would be the descendants of Lucifer? Those are the elite type people that are doing the Satan worshiping?
Well, you've heard me talk about the forces of evil. And I think in my world, I had 5 or 6 rings. And the very center of those rings are the reptilians, are the alien life forms that want to control the planet, who want to rule everything. And then from them comes their various seen and unseen forces that are wreaking havoc on the planet. The reason why they get away with so much is because it sounds so crazy to say there's alien life forms pulling the strings, but these are an alien life form that have a very, very long lifespan. Our lifespan of 70, 80, 90 years is very, very short compared to theirs. So they're playing a long game of how do I control the earth and her resources, just like we would, and now we're talking about doing in Mars. And so that's the core essence of those who are here to wreak havoc on the planet and stop its evolution. Because when the evolution takes place, they're no longer in charge. And so that's the ultimate, but they're so unseen and so unrecognized that we have to look at the cabal or our corrupted politicians as the evil forces on the planet. And somehow we put in Lucifer and Satan. They're all forces of evil that are trying to influence us. So just don't let them.
Thank you.
And don't think about them. Just bless them. You know that they're struggling to exist and they're not doing well because the earth is continuing to evolve. That's the energy and the image you want to carry, is that everything is in transition. Just like in your own life, You may be wanting to move to your spirited, highest, best self. And then you get these idiot drivers who are just driving you crazy on the road, or you get this person who's doing X, Y, and Z and causing you crazy. And those are all distractions that are meant to slow you down or impede your progress or build character. And so you just have to recognize these little irritations and move through them with your divine essence. But whether it's Lucifer or Satan or the devil or the reptilians or the cabal, they have no power unless you give it to them. And again, as I said during our guided visualization, study Gandhi's life. Gandhi was a perfect example where he embraced everyone. He made no one his enemy. He just taught and practiced passive, positive non-compliance. You want me to buy these clothes? No. And we're just going to make our own little loincloth, and we're going to wear our own loincloths from a zillion years ago. And even though he was an attorney, well educated, from that moment on, he wore his famous little loincloth wrapped in, linen that he had made himself. And you often see him at the loom, that whenever they told him they had to do X, Y, and Z, he and his followers would, and he led by example, just didn't do it. And they couldn't control them. And eventually they had to liberate India. So, I mean, it's well worth watching the movie again, reading the book again, watching YouTube clips about him, but just remind yourself what that looks and feels like, because he was always friends. They liked him. He liked them, but he just didn't let them control him or his people. And when something happened that he couldn't he couldn't influence enough, he would just not eat. That was, it wasn't punishing anybody else. He would just not eat. And people would get so concerned that they would acquiesce because they didn't want anything to happen to him because he was so cherished. So just recognize non-compliance is a very powerful tool. And right now, one of the things that I would love to see everybody do is just don't buy anything else from China. We are having a lot of counterproductive influence from China, and yet 90% of the products in our stores are from China. So unless it's in a thrift store, don't buy anything from China. Nothing new and tell the stores why you're not buying it, that everything in here is from China. I'm not buying China anymore. And so let them know. And that is an easy way of just non-compliance. We don't put more money in China's pocket. We're a country that borrows money from China. We borrow money, we pay interest, and that's a whole story into itself. And then we give China government aid. We borrow money from China to give money back to China for free with no strings. It just doesn't make sense. So don't support China.
Well, and going on that kind of brought up something too that I want to talk about, is that we're going through major shifts, and because we're here to support the earth, I do believe there's no accidents. I know there's a lot of people watching La Palma, which is an island, a Canary Island, and there's a huge, if you don't know, there's a huge volcanic eruption that's happening, and it's been predicted, I think, for many years now. If this were to go, I believe it's over 50 years it's been active, and it's pretty active from the visuals I've been seeing, that it's common that part of the island will drop in because it's kind of exploding, right? And so that's what's a normal process. And if that were to happen, the east coast of the United States gets very much affected. I know one of our friends on here has been following it as well. And so there's a lot of things that are happening. If you look at Australia is the one of the most, I mean, they have the camps, they're very, very intense out there. And a lot of them are rebelling back and standing for their truths and for their rights, and it's not being pretty. And then there's an earthquake in one of the most of all areas. So we have to know that we're on the side of love, we're on the side of light, and things might not look pretty in the moment, but we're always supported by the divine and the light. if you hold the faith, if you hold the trust, follow your heart, follow your intuition. If you're feeling, hey, I'm in New York right now, but I'm just feeling like, hey, I really want to go spend some time in Texas, then listen. God will talk to you, divine, spirit, angels, whatever you want to say. But if you have ears to listen, you will hear. If you have eyes to see, you will see. But as we begin this, and every week, ask for protection, ask for guidance, and ask to know truth. And when you do that, you open yourself up to be guided. It comes in small little voices. Hey, I kind of feel like doing this. Okay. It's not necessarily, I've had one message from spirit where they were literally yelling at me. In general, it's those little gentle messages from inside, like, oh, I hear that. And once you start to tap in, right, and you can start to hear the differences, then you start to realize, like, okay, I get it. Boom, boom, and it becomes really easy to kind of go through. But again, that's where we kind of have to really get to know this vessel. This craft is quite amazing. Welcome to our new friends that just came on. And someone mentioned, yes, about the negative or the lesser lights. They're preying on our souls. And yeah, and that's why we're here. Like, we came for all this. And I think that's where a lot of us too are feeling a lot of anxiety, of feeling a lot of things, because this isn't exactly what we thought this would look like, but it's here. And it's, I think so many of us are tapping into that. And I like to remind you that you are here to alchemize. So remember, when we're feeling certain things, it's okay. Give permission to feel it, give a thing, but don't have to hold on to it, no attachments to it. And just, again, stand in your truth, wherever that takes you.
And remember that the reptilians feed off the chaotic energy of the lower emotions, of fear, whatever. So they want you to get into these static places, and will literally attach themselves to your energetic field to feed off it. So the more you're just love and light, the more they go, ooh, that doesn't taste good, and they will leave you alone. So, you know, when you find little things are upsetting you, you're giving reptilians a great lunch, perhaps a buffet even. So just don't let it happen.
That, and also you do have free will. So they can't interfere you without allowing them. But when you say things are eating at me, you actually give energetic permission. So it's very important, again, with those words and those thoughts. And it paused. But so it's very important to have those thoughts. It's very important to be clear, own your protection, right? Bubble yourself energetically. It's other stuff I teach in the class too. So there's a lot of really important things that we have this. We just have to utilize. This is our power, and our love and light is our greatest power.
All right. Last week, Anna, you mentioned your son, I think it was, who is negative, and what did you do with them? And the call ended before I got to address that. Is that still an issue? And would you, if it is, would you just write either the comment again or unmute yourself and share it? Because I really think that's important.
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, he's like our little sour apple. Like we call him the little sour patch, because he's always so negative. He's like, oh, anything that we say or do, oh, you didn't do that for me because you don't love me. Or he gets like, their charts in school go from like green to red, and he's like, oh, I got yellow today, so I'm just the worst kid ever. I'm like, no, you're not. You can fix it.
And how old is he?
He's 6.
Oh, he's 6. Okay, so he's still young.
Yeah.
I had a child like that in the childcare center, and he was just always kind of a sour, unhappy little boy. So I started calling him Happy David. And it goes, oh, there's my Happy David, and others. And within a very short while, he was smiling and being happy. So that's one way of dealing with it. The other is just like, say, just sending him lots and lots of love. And then, because this is his journey too, you might also, in your prayers, ask his higher self what you can do to assist him.
Okay.
At 6, he's come in with this predisposition from previous experiences. And so you want to work with his experience, not against it, but
Okay.
start by just calling him Happy, Happy David. I don't know if you know kinesiology, but it's a pretty easy practice. You can show him when he's in this sour place, and I like the term sour apple. I think that's very descriptive without being judgmental. That you can really show him when he's in this sour apple state, he's less strong. That he literally, his body uses all the energy to be the sour
Mhm.
apple rather than the happy banana, whatever
Yeah.
would be the opposite. Um, and so show him that he's actually stronger when he's happier. Do you know how to do the kinesiology with his string?
No. No.
Okay, well, it's pretty easy to do because you need two people to show it. Just do your fingers and then just see how hard it is to take your fingers apart. That's sort of your basic strength. I don't know how to
Mhm.
do it. So just I'm using these two fingers and squishing apart. So just do that. And then if you think about being that sour apple, that crabby, unhappy person, and hold that energy, literally you lose your strength and you can see it immediately. And then you
Oh,
go
okay.
back to light and love. Are you doing it with me? Can you feel it?
Mhm.
Show him that, when you're being a sour apple, you're affecting your strength. You're losing your muscles. And is that really the way you want to go through life? And sometimes that will help him make the awareness. It's you're wanting him to become aware. And I don't know how you see it, if it's on his face or if it's his posture, how you can tell he's in his sour place. But if you could take pictures of his face when he's in this sour place, and show him what his face looks like, because usually it's nonverbal. Um, it, that can also be an awareness. It's making him aware that
Okay.
that he has choices, and the choices that he's choosing right now are taking away his strength. It's having him
Mhm.
have an ugly look on his face. What they call your default face isn't very appealing, and other people don't like to be around sour apples. They'd much be around, happy bananas. So try some of those, and try one for 3 or 4 days. Don't just jump around different things, but just take one technique like Happy David and calling him Happy David for 4 or 5 days and see if you see any impact. And then if that one, after that one, try one of the others.
Okay.
So, and just see if you can impact it. But remember, ultimately, it's his choice of how he lives his life. You're just wanting him to become aware of the impact that his choices have on his body, on his face, on his relationships, because they
Mhm.
don't grow out of it. If they're in the habit of being a sour apple, they're going to be a sour apple forever. And at 35, it isn't cute.
Right. Okay. I will do that. Thank you so much.
All right. And I didn't have any information how to get a hold of you. So in the private chat or email me or something, so I have your contact information, because it's been bugging me. I wanted to contact you and I couldn't contact you.
Okay.
So,
I'll send it to you.
all right. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
And then while you said that, Indara was also on here, and she says she has the same age, and her son is also like that. So she said, "Thank you for the advice. I'll try that on him."
Yeah. And it works on husbands too. I mean, we can have very sour, like the sour apple husbands or wives or whatever, and just to reflect on the positive part, oh, my happy husband, and or happy wife or whatever it may be, can oftentimes just change the programming, and you're calling forth that part of them. But glad to be of help. Anybody else?
One asked earlier while we were on the subject, how can we choose a job? Ha ha.
How can we choose a job?
Well, having a job that's more in alignment, or
Get clear on what that job is. Most people don't know. You ask them what they want to do. I don't know. I just want to make sure I'm making a lot of money or whatever. So the more you can get clear on the job that you want to do, on the service you want to provide, you know, a lot of people want to go in for practice themselves, and they want to, you know, do Reiki 24/7 or do, and that's hard to start that way. It's much easier to have a job and then build up the practice on the side, in order to make a living. But you know, even Elvis drove a truck. You know, Elvis Presley drove a truck, and who's it? Some of the other stars always had side jobs. So don't think you're going to jump into the perfect job. That you have to really earn the right to do it full time if you're looking at, you know, private practice. And then what is it you want to do? You know, what brings you joy? What brings you happiness? Talking to people, being around people, being active, um, being in control of things, being, you know, what brings you joy, and then what are the jobs that pull from those skills, and do them. That easy.
And feel free, there's a few new people on here. So if you have questions anytime, that's why I kind of look around, because I like to go through the questions. So we love questions. Feel free to ask. And Esme.
I spent 30 years in the classroom lecturing, you know, on various topics the university assigned me to lecture on. I don't like lecturing. I'd much rather talk about the things that are important to each of you in your life. And living consciously means that you have to be aware of every detail. Everything you're doing is important and significant and makes a difference in the universe. And so I'd much rather talk about those things than have a lecture about energy fields or reptilians or those kinds of things. And so be mindful. What are the things that you need to, or you would like to have, in order to live your life more consciously, more energetically elevated, more in alignment with your greatest self? And that's your goal, is to be your greatest self. What do you have to stop doing in order to be your greatest self? Because a lot of us have habits that we've picked up over the years, or behaviors that we think is normal, when they really do impede your greatest self presence. And so recognizing what those are very important.
Let's see if there's any questions. There was one that got retracted, but I don't know what it was.
How does a question get retracted?
YouTube, apparently you can retract a message. Well, sometimes you accidentally send things, so it's kind of nice. I think you can retract it. I know half the time I will do things on Instagram like, that's not what I meant. It was, oops, too late. It doesn't really make sense, or the autocorrect and stuff. So I think that can be quite normal. How is everybody doing this week, by the way? How are you feeling? I know last week you said you were going to be doing spirit sprinkles.
So that was, see how I feel. That was a possibility.
Hello, Elena. Hi, hi. I'm still in excruciating pain in my back, and I had to leave work today. I tried everything to manage, and I can't deal with it.
I don't know what part of your back is, but in general, when you have pains in your back, it's because you're not feeling supported. You're feeling sort of like you're out there in the world by yourself. And so I would look to see what your support team is doing, or if you have a support team, and if not, make the intention to create one.
Well, I believe it's your neck. I think you're pinching in your neck. No, it takes a minute for the delay, so let's see. I'm pretty sure it was in her neck.
Well, I wouldn't say her neck is her back then.
It's your spine. My cervical, yes, pinching in my neck.
And I would look at that as being more inflexibility, your rigidity. And I would look at what your thoughts are when it becomes its most extreme. That your neck is about how you perceive the world. It what gives you your vision, and so I'd look at that.
Well, and speaking from me, I actually had 3 pinched nerves in my neck before, and it's not fun. And it gives you everything from, I started throwing up on airplanes every time I would fly. The stuff would be awful, nausea. There's all kinds of weird things that can happen when your nerves are going through. And my neck is still quite a bit stiff compared to what it used to be, but I do my best to just love on it. And of course, thank you for joining us. And so I think you could look at too, is it throat? I think that I believe there's a lot of throat activation happening around. And I think that this is a super important time as we're here. That is a lot also in your neck as well. So there's all kinds of things. What I would do is go into meditation and take a notebook and have questions you want to ask yourself and just see what comes up. What is this teaching me? Where did this come from? What am I learning? Where am I feeling it? What does the feeling feel like? What is, just start going through a bunch of questions and seeing what comes up for you. And it could be your body saying, pay attention to me, love me, appreciate me. Have you been supporting? Have you been appreciating? Because I know when I went through my back injury, for those of you that don't know, I was on a bed for about 1.5 years. And it was the worst thing I've ever gone through, physically, painfully, but at the same time, through that injury, it made me reappreciate my body. Being able to use your thumb to take your pants on and off and button is like, I never knew how much I appreciate my thumb. And that's another thing with a neck injury. Even opening a water bottle, like you lose your hand strength, like, wow. And so moment by moment, I started really going through like, oh my gosh, thank you for allowing me to feel this. Thank you for allowing me to feel this. Thank you for letting me see how nice and flexible my neck is. And it could just be your body saying, hey, pay attention. I got a message for you. But there always is, the issue is in your tissues. So there's no accidents ever when it comes to physical bodies and healing and attention. So I would look, especially that throat area, the neck, look into that, ask your questions, feel with your body, and just kind of see what some of those answers are. Someone asked about ascension symptoms. If you want to talk about any of that.
No. Because I would open a can of worms that's very big for me. I don't believe there are ascension symptoms. So it would be so.
And I would say that I think part of the reason why I was doing the class, because I feel like there's so many shifts and things that can happen. I didn't realize that. I feel like I've been going through this for many years, and
I think there's shifts and things you can go through, but I think everybody does it differently. It's not the ascension, it's your individual clearing out. It's like if all 6 of us go out and exercise, then do the same exercises, we're all going to hurt in different places if we're not used to doing exercises. But it isn't the exercises, it's our own body condition that determine that. So I don't see it ascension. I see it as individual preparation and clearing.
Yeah. Well, and everybody feels energy different. Everybody explains energy different. And so I think I do feel that there is stuff that can happen within the physical, within the emotional, within all kinds of stuff. So again, there's no accidents. But for me, if you're talking about ascension symptoms, I think common stuff is when you're feeling energy, people can get headaches, people can get, I sometimes get migraines, or you can have pulses and sensations. A lot of parts of my head will activate during certain things, or I start to get, if I'm really listening to something and something's ringing true, like I start to feel different sensations going up and down my spine. So I think it's learning how to tap into the physical body again and kind of decoding that. But again, there's no two things that are the same. And so there is a lot that can go. And again, where are you starting from? Where you, if someone is moving, if anybody here has ever done ayahuasca, they have the diete, which is a very strict stuff of what you put into your body for sometimes 8 weeks prior to the experience. Because if you're not used to the energy of Mother Aya, your body can have a lot of sensations to challenge that. But if you really are clean and you really do the proper stuff, which is no meat, no dairy, right? No salt, there's a lot of stuff that you avoid. So when you go into the work with the plant medicine, you go into a higher frequency and higher body. So I think a lot of that is happening too, is are you taking care of your body mentally, emotionally, physically? Are you eating foods that are a higher vibrational state? Are you eating foods like meat that are a heavy vibrational state? Everything, there's no right or wrong. It's all up to you. But there's a lot of things that have can affect you. And I think that we have to go through the programming and go through the patterns. But I do believe we've been programmed to not eat foods that is in line with our spiritual self, and that puts in the mental fog, puts in the more sleep, more herd mentality. It's not by accident. So I think it's really important to kind of relook through this. And I feel sometimes for the changes of our physical earth, as the planet's vibrating is change, or vibration is changing. Yes. I mean, one of the things that I thought was just this new thing I learned this week, that I've done it in a way, but it was like this deeper moment. But every day, if you can take a piece of earth, like this is my plant right here. If you're on Zoom, you can see it in the actual Zoom thing. But this, even by itself, if you start to literally every day thank Earth and say, I am here for you, I've got you, I love you, and start to connect and thank her for the beautifulness. Thank you for the green. Thank you for the air. Thank you for the breeze, the trees. Like every blade of grass is different. If we start to go thankful, tell her you're here for her. I think that's such a beautiful way. I really do believe we are so easy to live up in the stars and the things because we're from there. That's why we're so drawn to that. But we are made of stardust, literally. But our biggest gift is we can take that energy and bring it down into the planet. We have to anchor in that energy. So the more you can thank your earth, the more you can say, I'm here for you. I love you. The more we literally can go. And when we ground that energy, we actually help her as well as help ourselves. So that was a big thing that I felt this week, that I was like, new shift. Someone asked, they've been wanting to do it, and have I done ayahuasca? I have. My mom is not for it. I am. Everybody has their own path. You're welcome to message me if you have personal questions. For me, I believe it is a huge gift. It is not necessarily for everyone. And there's people who take it, who've done the diet, who don't get anything. So it's not 100% you're going to get something. It is very much what you're ready for and what you're ready to receive. And it's a very much trust the process and letting to let go. But for me, it was one of the most incredible, beautiful gifts that I've ever experienced. And it really, for me, you move beyond the veil and you literally see the life force, you see the connection, you see, I mean, there's so much for me that I saw it. And it, for me, it also just opened up so much for me. So I am internally grateful for the few times that I have done it. Someone else said, for me, this week has been intense, feeling more sensitive to taste and surroundings. When I take care of myself better, eat right, and meditate, my days are high.
And that's the key. Every day, just deal with that day and eat right, drink right, think right, and your day will be right.
And Jake even put our food and water also being poisoned. Yes. Hello. They fluoride, even with children, they try to put fluoride water. It's like, that's not good for your third eye. Like it's a brain toxin. It's yes. And so that's where we're gifted to find this truth. There's also been new research that they're trying to start growing medicines within plants. So follow your heart, get your organic seeds. It's an interesting time, very interesting time. And I love you, Miss Claudia. And so for me, like I haven't eaten meat by choice in over 30 some years. So if I go to a restaurant and they accidentally cook it with something or there's juice on it, my body will get very sick. It's like, get this out. What is this? It's like this, and I could feel it immediately. It's this dense heaviness that's like, whoa. But everybody's body's different. So I have to go with what my body says. And my body says no meat. But as you're starting to look at different foods, like look at a pound of spinach, look at a pound of steak, you can see the density. And even with animals, their intestines are very short and small when they're doing those raw meats or those meats, because it's a very different digestion. Our digestive tract has a lot for plants and fruits and veggies. So again, you can look at our teeth. It's all hearsay ish. Pray to know truth, ask, but I do believe that we've been intentionally slowed down and intentionally backed up, literally, physically, and emotionally and mentally and all that through it. So yes, it's definitely a thing. I'm so glad I met you too. Oh, you're at our Freedom Humanity. Yes. So for Plant-Based Ben, Johnny Juicer, there's some big guys on Instagram. They had an event in Chicago this past weekend and I went, and Elena was one of my friends there. It's powerful. And that's a beautiful time also of like, find your tribe. Like it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can connect, but it is so important to go inside right now and find our answers, to be able to tap in and tune in. Someone else said, very powerful medicine when done properly with the correct medicine woman or man. I'm very pro plant medicine. And I agree with you 100%. It's very important who you put your energy in, because you really open up. I went to a church actually, and I've done it privately and a church. And I have to say, for me, the church, it holds this space that I was able to go really deep into it. It's very different energy, with the live music and the live hymns and stuff. So everyone has been feeling that time is speeding up. So in my truth, we have been trained to think speed is linear, but where I think finding the week could feel like a month and the day could feel like a year. I think time is definitely playing. Actually, and I got to see how time works too. Do you want to talk about time, Mom? How it's shifting?
No.
Okay. And then someone says their dreams are more vivid these last few days too. And then Indara said, yes, I feel like time is speeding up to someone else. Then we have Gosha. I struggle to dream. I've had absolutely no dream since the whole COVID situation. I sleep deep, no dream. Laugh out loud. You want to say anything about that, or you just?
I'm just listening.
Okay. So dreams, first of all, remember your words. If you don't want to struggle with your dreams, then don't say it. In the past, you could say it in the past, but make sure you're claiming it for the future. But set your intentions. If you are meant to listen, or if you're meant to remember your dreams, you can ask. But again, everything happens for a reason. It could be you're going off planet somewhere. You could be going, you're getting energetic things. We have to trust. I do believe there's a place that we do go back home to when we're dreaming or have access to. I think each of us are here for different reasons. And so maybe you're going to your planet and you're not meant to remember something. We just have to trust that your brain has you as your friend. So if there is something you want to remember, then you can say, set intentions. Before I go to sleep, I have this I'm dealing with. I'd like to learn the lessons here or whatnot. But you can also ask, for the best and highest good of all concerned, let me remember my dreams. Elena says, I feel something we are going to enter very soon. Yeah, I feel there's a lot of stuff happening and coming into. Yeah. Do you know, are you feeling anxiety? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling heavy? Do you feel light? Like what kind of feelings are you feeling? I dream about fractals and the Sara Jasara. Well, that's a big dream. There's 12 people on Instagram right now. It's pretty awesome. Yay! And it's 5:55 for Esme. Mom, anything else? You want to talk
No, I
about
think
dreams?
this is a
You
good
want to?
time. I think this is a good time to close it up. It's been almost 2 hours. In order for me to do the sprinkles, I have to be in a very clear space. And because I'm moving and I have lots of things going on with that, I don't feel like I've got the clarity that would be desired for doing a sprinkle. So maybe next week, maybe not. We'll see, which is why I say maybe, because I never know how energetically clear I'm going to be. But no, I'm ready to close up. 2 hours is plenty, and
And
we will
just
see you another time.
say a few words because there is comments coming up, and I want to say yes. You're probably picking up on some stuff. I love you all. I'm not sure if we're going to continue this. Mom and I are going through a lot of transition, and I know she's in the process of moving. As you know, I've kind of been living out of storage and at my mom's house, but there's some big decisions being made. And so I just want to let you know that if things don't feel right to me, it could be a possibility of future stuff, but they're picking up on your aggravation and your energy, and it's true. You and I are not in the best of places at the moment, but that's part of being.
And if you're on our list, we will let you know what changes are taking place, but it is a very busy time.
And I thank you. If someone says pray for the things, I pray, please ask for prayers for love and for light, and to make decisions not based off fear or lack, but to be able to step into our magical selves for each and every one of us, for us to be able to walk into our power, to walk into our love, even if that means letting go or people that no longer serve you, that we each can take this moment to breathe in. You are so powerful, you are so loving, and you are so supported. But it's important to make those decisions out of there. And if you come from other places, then you get that energy back tenfold. And as we go through this process, it is so important in my truth and my belief to be able to operate out of the place of faith, of trust, of knowing that you don't know how it'll happen, you just know that it does. And so I please pray for that. Yes, thank you. We send you both love as you've been here for us. We're here for you, Soul Fam. And thank you. And that's the thing, it's life. We don't always get along. You know that. That's part of natural. But if you do pick up on anything, that's obviously, it's never personal. We do our best to show up for you all. But I just love being able to connect with you. So thank you for joining us. If you want to watch the replay, you can always go to YouTube. You can always join us on Zoom as well. And as we go, I'm going to do a quick little card because I feel this is I love this deck. If you don't know this deck, this is the Isis Oracle, Anna Fairchild, which to me, this is always right on. So let's do a little collective message as we get our strength and courage and love and heart, be able to step into this next week, knowing that, let's see, let me just hang on. All right. The thing is, talismans of potency, charging sacred objects over power. I've not seen this card before, and I've had this deck for many years. This is the way I love this oracle. It always is kind of an interesting one. So let's just see what the quick message for this one is. I don't even know what a talisman is. Talisman? Talismans of potency. It's page 170 for those who are numbers. All right. It is charging sacred objects of power. Sacred tools and objects can become an extension of our energy field, focusing your power and intention, helping you heal the split between spirit and matter, and learning to bring physical matter more deeply into light and life. You are encouraged to work with sacred materials in a conscious way to help your own healing and enjoyment of the material world as part of your spiritual practice. Your love for the physical world of matter is a gift to Earth too. Oh, I love that. And my sister, teacher queen, Danielle Page, she's an astrologer, and she talks about that. We are here to be able to enjoy the earthly things. This is fun. When we go into the next dimension, we also can literally create. We are ultimate creators. So come from that place of abundance, of love, of gratitude, of bliss. We are powerful. We are. Remember the crystalline, the energy. Take that water and bless it. May every cell be replenished with love and light. And we got this. This is going to be lots of times coming. So, yes, Danielle is pretty awesome. So, enjoy what makes you happy. What makes you glow. All right. Love you all. Does anybody else want to say anything before we go? All right. If you are interested in joining my class, feel free to look on my page or private message me. And the early bird pricing, I think, is for another day or two. And you can work with me. One-on-one coaching. Woohoo! All right. Thank you so much. Have an amazing evening, and I love you all. And it's Tiffany. It's so good to see you on here too. I feel like it's been a minute. So, all right. We got this, y'all. We got this. I love you.
Love and light. Love and light.